Hey everybody, welcome. several years ago, one of our readers tonight was talking to me and said, I just thought it'd be fun to be the host of a game show. So I had this idea tonight to turn Fishtrap Fireside into a game show, but that's a silly idea. I came to my senses. But we can start it off like a game show. So are you with me on this one? Yeah. All right. So, whether it's Wheel of Fortune or Family Feud, there's always great music happening, and then the host shows up and says, "Hi everybody, welcome to Fishtrap Fireside. It's the first Friday of the month. Do you know what time that is?" And you all say with all the juices in your body, "Fishtrap Fireside," and then clap. Ready? Want to try it? This is the practice. Hey, we're in Wallowa County. It's the first Friday of the month. Do you know what time that is? It's time for Fishtrap Fireside. Hey, everybody! It's the first Friday of the month, and we're here in Wallowa County. Do you know what time that is? It's time for Fishtrap Fireside! That's right. That's right. It's the monthly reading series for Wallowa County writers to read and share their work. And each month offers a little look at what people at the West are thinking about and writing down. Now the applause sign is going to come up after I say each name, right? So give it all you got. Tonight, our featured writers are Robin Pace, Matt Kurtz, plus longtime Fishtrap favorite Evelyn Swart. Thanks for entertaining me. And each month we also have a Fishtrap Fireside sponsor. These are folks who contribute a little bit to help us pay for all the nice treats and drinks that you have. If any of you work for an organization or work for a company that would like to sponsor Fireside sometime in the future, talk to Jennifer Hobbs. She can tell you all about it, wherever Jennifer is. There she is in the back. This month, Fireside's sponsor is Diane Daggett at Ruby Peak Realty. So next time you see Diane on the street, give her a handshake and say you were at Fishtrap Fireside. Thanks, Diane. Okay, here's how it works. For those who are new to Fireside, each month we have 3 featured readers. They get about 10 minutes apiece to read whatever they want. And then afterwards, we'll take a break where you can stop and refill your glass and visit with some folks. It'll be a short break, and then we'll come back for what we have, the open mic. And the open mic are short readings up to 5 minutes. There are 5 readers. We have 1 spot left if somebody would like to try something out that they've been thinking about, and we'll have a real nice time. Okay. Let's get this thing going. Our first reader is Robin Pace. Robin is a weaver of many things: words, water, time, and one day maybe even textiles. She grew up splitting time between the rural high desert of Nevada during the school year and Wallowa County on her grand's farm, also known as Never Never Land, each summer. In college, she created her own degree, which combined psychology, public health, and centered around American Sign Language, ASL. After graduation, thanks to the suggestion of a dear friend, Robin began working for Winding Waters River Expeditions. 11 years later, she has only grown more captivated by the water, the power of waters, and the depths they carve. If you can find Robin in the county, she might be dancing or laughing with friends. Otherwise, she's downriver, writing by headland, sweeping the canyon for story, and popping up a mighty fine kitchen on the riverbank. Please welcome Robin Pace.
Well, it's really lovely to be here tonight. I just got off a 30-day Grand Canyon river trip. Wow. So a lot of what I'm talking about tonight kind of ties into that. And so tonight I have one kind of short essay piece followed by a couple of poems. This morning I woke up and felt it. The settling. I knew it would happen, had been anticipating its coming, but yesterday, while my knuckles still bled, I wasn't sure how long it would take for me to drop back in to the reality of life above the rim. How long it would take for my mind to cease being surprised by the distance to the horizon. Or how many minutes it will take for sunlight to not seem like the most delicious gift. This morning, that process of readjusting began, and I welcome it. But to be honest, I hope I don't acclimate to hot water again. May it remain a magical mystery to my skin. A 30-day river trip is a difficult thing to put to words. Combine that with a decade of reading water and rock walls, of listening to the birds whisper about the incoming weather on the wind. There's a lot to say. I spent a month trying to whittle out what traveling through a river canyon means to me, and I realized it will take a long time for the words to settle out. Not unlike sediment dropping out of a river after a flash flood. I do have some words to share. I expect to have many, many more, but I'll share with you the beginning, and it begins, as always, with water. The first food. The moving, shifting thing that makes up the majority of each of our bodies. Perhaps our oldest ancestor. Thank you. I wonder, do you hear the stories as you sip or shower or swim? Do you recognize each droplet as kin? And what of dust? Dust is but life decayed, skin shed, trees burned, rock crushed. Each and every particle, ancestor. Do you taste their memories, caking and coating everything when the wind kicks up, as if to say, remember, you, human, who forget so quickly, here I am, here you too will be. Dust. Have you ever thought about the fact that snow is but ancestor cradling ancestor? For it takes a particle of dust to form a snowflake. Dust to be encircled by water, crystallized into form. When it snows, it is but ancestors falling all around you, landing softly on your cheek, glittering, reminding you too to shimmer and fall. Shimmer and fall. And yes, that does mean that as you step, you walk upon them, but that has always been true. For not one step of your life has ever been placed upon anything but ancestor. Not one. Maybe now you can understand the difficulty of speaking to the feeling of rowing 280 miles through Grand Canyon for 30 days in winter. Of witnessing and watching it snow on walls and rock layers arching overhead. Of being encased by the earth that way. Once, I was told not to idolize or write emotion or feeling about the earth and animals around me. It was naive, infantile even. But truth be told, I've never felt younger than the times I placed my hands side by side in Blacktail Canyon, touching two separate layers of rock. The imperceptible gap between them marking a 1.2 billion year age gap. I am an infant on this earth, naive and young with so many questions, so I'll keep asking. because as I rode downriver some 270 miles below where our trip first launched, a place that not a decade ago was Lake Mead, it was impossible not to notice that the 30-foot-tall sediment layers I was rowing through matched almost exactly the layers of rock standing a mile above my head. Generations of rock layers, eroding and falling from one another back to the water, to be carried once more and settle into layers of sediments. Salts crystallizing out just like snow upon the earth. Almost as though the canyon itself was speaking and breathing into the downstream, dissolving into form, nutrient to itself. For now, that is all I have settled out of my mind. There will be more coming. Until then, may you be like salt upon the earth, fleeting, movable, consumable, nutrient to one another. This one is a river guide's prayer. Clean teeth, clean minds. It isn't so much a saying as a belief. Mantra, a prayer to some unknown force, an acknowledgement to a living thing. Clean teeth, clean minds. The words come in whispers. Loud, joking laughter, dancing between eyes locked as bristles glide across enamel. Clean teeth, clean lines. I hear it in my mind while I scrub and spit, as though if I reach all the angles of my own mouth, nothing will be left but the empty infinity of possibility. Clean teeth, clean lines. Dislodging oatmeal from cracks that remind me of seams, that perfect space weaving downriver. Clean teeth, clean lines. A moving meditation, connection, a tap in before dropping in. Clean teeth, clean lines. May it be and may I be in it, somewhere between rocks and crashing monsters, wherever it runs today. Clean teeth, clean lines. This one is written for someone who was on our trip, a man who spoke so lovingly of his partner and his grandmother. And it was written at mile 109 of 280. Alejandro, I see you. Man, capable, young enough to be able, old enough to think twice, with the wisdom of having done it thrice. Man, I see you. This one I wrote on the day that I said yes to doing this 30-day canyon trip. And I think it's a love letter to every person I ever have the opportunity to run a river with. But tonight especially, it goes out to Sarah. I've yet to learn how to say goodbye, other than over and over again. And each time I meet you, it will be with fresh eyes and all of the grief of leaving repeatedly. An honor to the depth of my love for you, dear one. Through my next farewell and last hello, know I love you like water through a canyon, deep and carving ever deeper.
Thanks for giving the authors, the writers, applause. You know, people write things in their bedrooms and on napkins and places, and it can be hard to come up here and share that work with folks. So that makes them feel good. Thanks, Rob. It's over the next couple months. Fishtrap since 2006, in the belly of the winter, February and March, have had either a Fishtrap Reads or a Big Read program. And if you're not familiar with it, we provide a book and encourage the entire community to read it together and to share in conversations, have book discussions. We provide events throughout this 4 or 6 week period that help support, that give people a chance to understand the themes in these books. Well, this year's book, if you don't know already, is The Jump Off Creek by Molly Gloss. Molly is a longtime Fishtrap friend. This book is about a woman Oregon homesteader in the 1880s. A lot of the scenes will be familiar to you. And we are going to have several, we've provided more than 400 books to libraries and schools in Wallowa and Union counties. We're partnering with the Book Loft. Thanks, Cam. We're partnering with the Book Loft. We encourage you to pick up a copy, read it with your book group. Maybe you've already read it with your book group, haven't you? You all know Kathy. And so a couple of the things that are happening is on the 15th of this month, Wednesday the 15th, we're going to have a kickoff potluck and a live video stream with the author, Molly Gloss, introducing the book. So you can sit here and watch this on the screen and eat with everybody else, or you can watch it at home. We encourage you to come here so we can all talk about the book together. The second thing, and then every week we'll have a new event that's either online or in person. We've partnered with, I'm super excited about this, the historic Oregon Trail Interpretive Center in Baker City, and they're having park rangers do weekly events with us, learning what it was like to be a homesteader, the trapping trade, to be a woman in the West on the Oregon Trail. And I encourage you to take a look at that. And then finally, our finale is on March 22nd, where the author, Molly Gloss, will be here standing where I am, answering your questions about the book and the experiences, how she came to research and write this book, and why after 40, maybe almost 40 years, it's still in print and used in schools and everywhere. So that's Fishtrap Reads. I'll have more for you about that later. But yeah, you can go to fishtrap.org and learn as much as you want. We're getting better now. Okay, our second reader is also this was Robin's. Robin has read at in our open mics before, but never as a featured reader, so it's wonderful. Our second reader's in the same boat. Here it comes. Without his, this is one of the best lines in a bio that I've ever heard. So, without his consent, Matt Kurtz was moved from a home near Disneyland and the warm, beautiful beaches of California to Wallowa County in late 1979. Despite the trauma, it's a land he's grown to love and where he has spent the better part of his 48 years. Matt enjoys spending time with his 2 sons, running, playing poker, and has managed and is engaged in a myriad of careers. He's known to be a bit clumsy with power tools.
Wow. It's a great honor to be here tonight to share the stage with Robin, my coworker. Excellent job, Robin, my friend and coworker, and Evelyn as well. As soon as I agreed to participate in this event, I regretted it, and I've regretted it ever since. And until last week when I discovered this new thing called Chat GPT, I think it's called. I put in that little the prompt box. I said, "Give me 2,000 words on what it's like to cut your hand off," and it was remarkably accurate. You wouldn't believe. It really was. It's amazing. No, thanks for being here tonight. I wrote this piece shortly after I suffered an accident where I severed my hand, as you'll hear about here. And I wrote this piece a few days after, and kind of mostly left it alone since then. Did a little revision, a little cutting. That was unintentional. Anyway, it's somewhat self-indulgent. I don't know if it's any good, but I appreciate you taking 10 minutes to listen to it. This is the anatomy of an amputation. Not a cloud could be found in the warm, brilliant blue skies over Joseph, Oregon on that autumn afternoon. The looming Wallowa Mountains, familiar yet always stunning, sported a recent dusting of snow on their peaks. The tamarack trees illuminated the otherwise dark surrounding forest with a golden glow. I never tire of having my breath briefly snatched by the beauty of such a masterpiece. The old mill site had been my outdoor office since the spring, and I enjoyed working there so much that I'd recently negotiated to purchase a piece of it. The firewood end of the business had been all mine for about a month. I absolutely loved the rustic, organic quality of what I was doing. I routinely recounted to friends that each new day was better than the last. I would have considered such a notion preposterous a decade previous. What a feeling. Throughout the recent summer, I had become accustomed to pausing for a moment, appreciating my unbelievable fortune, and I had done so several times on this day. I must have been particularly overcome. I was in the best shape of my life, primed to run the Portland Marathon in 4 days, something I dedicated my life to in the previous 6 months. It would be my second marathon, and I'd put in the training that I'd hoped would carry me the roughly 26 miles to the finish line in about 3 hours and 15 minutes. Such a time would secure my qualification for the Boston Marathon, the holy grail for avid amateur distance runners. The BQ, as it was known in the magazines and message boards I read, had become an obsession. As I unloaded slabs from logs onto a conveyor to be cut and processed, I constantly reminded myself to be careful. The finish line was so close, the starting line even closer. Rolling an ankle would be catastrophic. More significant than the amazing physical transformation I had borne during my 40s was the shift that had taken place in my brain and my heart. Long gone was the solemn anchor of depression that I had arduously dragged through childhood, adolescence, a marriage, then a divorce. No more was the accompanying gravity of anxiety that had assisted in producing so many poor decisions. The pain that I had both endured and inflicted on those around me for so long was now largely absent, replaced by a calm confidence in God, the energy of the universe, and joyous gratitude for the blessings that I held close. With great regularity, I reflected on the notion that I had been evolving into a reasonably good human. And that was a source of pride. The last load of the day was close to completion. Continuing to be mindful of my precious legs, I gently hopped off of my Bobcat tractor, noticing that my processing saw had become jammed with gnarly wood slabs yet again. The saw and accompanying conveyor belts were in dire need of maintenance that I had forgone in favor of continuing operation and subsequent cash flow. Like many things in my life, the saw would be a post-marathon project. I approached the location of the bound conveyor that was closest to me. Though it was not the side of the machine that I was accustomed to working from, it wasn't abnormal, and I lacked the patience and respect for the machine that were, in retrospect, clearly needed in that moment. It being almost second nature, I quickly diagnosed the problem, ascertaining which piece of red fur was hung up, and grasped the culprit with my left hand. I pulled, and it refused to break loose. Perhaps a bit frustrated, I placed my right hand on the machine for leverage, and with my left, yanked harder this time, really giving it the business. In a literal instant, my use of increased force dislodged the jam, setting into motion a calamitous chain of events. Fascinating, isn't it, how small, mindless actions can render such tremendous consequences? I am reminded of a favorite quote from Bruce Barton. Sometimes when I consider what tremendous consequences come from little things, I am tempted to think that there are no little things. Now free, the conveyor belt shoved the slabs ready to be cut forward, tripping a switch that would forever change my life. A fence of thick, solid steel meant to pin wood slabs down as they are cut, slammed down on my right wrist. There was an initial second or two of shock and pain before the realization of the dire straits I found myself in. The industrial-sized saw, a 30-inch circular blade whirling at a blinding rate, appeared from its shroud and began its familiar 2-foot journey across the mouth of the machine. My eyes darted back and forth, observing the saw effortlessly cut through the slabs of wood that preceded my trapped hand. I had but 8 seconds to free myself before the unimaginable materialized, and a few of those precious seconds were already in the vapor. I pulled. It refused to break loose. It all happened so fast. No, I screamed, watching the emotionless blade enter my flesh just below my thumb. It did not stop or hesitate. It traversed the back of my hand in a measured, deliberate fashion, exiting the other side without remorse. Recoiling after the saw had itself retreated, I was free, but no longer whole. I took a few steps back, doubled over, and with what I can only assume were very wide eyes, observed my injury. There was an initial gush of blood that spilled down onto my trousers. I stared in disbelief at a bloody stump. The pain was evident, but not a priority. My initial emotion was anger toward myself for having been so foolish. It was too much to make sense of, I guess, as for whatever reason I started running from the scene of the accident. Fight or flight, perhaps. After 50 or so yards of what must have been an erratic sprint, clarity returned to my head and I stopped, giving thought to my next course of action. I mindfully reached into my pocket with my left hand, with my trembling left hand, I'll add, and gingerly retrieved my phone and dialed 911. This is Matt Kurtz, and I'm at JZ Lumber and Joseph. I've just cut my hand off. I need an ambulance. I really remember talking that fast. Unable to concentrate, but confident that an ambulance was on its way, I discarded my phone and hollered for help a couple of times before even that seemed like too much. At this juncture, my perception of time became oddly skewed, as though it had been temporarily suspended. I found my thoughts adrift in the surreal nature of the experience. I reminded myself to appreciate what I was sensing, as I'd always wondered how the trauma of something like losing a limb would feel. Physically, I'd have to say that it's initially not so bad. Just as I had heard, stubbing a toe or getting a bad sliver can temporarily at least be more painful. Embroiled in the horror, this was oddly amusing. After cataloging this strange bit of data, anger reemerged. The realization that in 4 days I would not be running a marathon, not be crossing the finish line in joyous tears, achieving my goal, and celebrating the mythical BQ hit me. In the moment, this was more devastating than the fact that I would likely be living the second half of my life without my most useful appendage. Never had I wanted a rewind button, if only for a minute or two, so badly. I began to bargain, Just let me run that race, and then you can have not just my hand, but my life. It appears to be over now anyway. Fortunately, this train of thought quickly dissipated. The internal work that I'd engaged over the past several years, and particularly most recently, seized control of my psyche, proving worthwhile. I gazed at the mountains, struck with the fact that while I was experiencing the most intense, dark seconds of my life, the majestic view above remained unscathed. I took comfort in that. The land and the air in which I suffered was as splendid as ever. My attention reverted to my astounding wound. I had instinctively gripped my right wrist with my left hand squeezing forcefully. I noted there was very little blood. The stump looked more white than red, and I figured that had to be a result of the body's natural vasoconstrictive reaction to such an event. I found a morsel of gratitude in that. As it wandered at will, my brain was overcome by a single word: acceptance. It was visibly spelled out in my mind's wet eye. Red letters in a slightly ballooned script. It's no surprise, other than the strange choice of font, I guess. I've labored over this word more than any other during the decade or so that I refer to as my recovery. Those 10 letters carried me through so much, but I'd never been tested as I was now. Is that what this was? A test? A lucid conversation with myself ensued. Matt, you are about to experience the true meaning of acceptance. What you have done cannot be changed. The rewind button does not exist. The past is out of your control. I'm not sure if it was too difficult to visually concentrate on any one thing in particular, or if I found my fascinating wound too difficult to stare at for long stretches, but I again instinctively lifted my head, and turning toward the east, I observed a figure sprinting toward me in the distance. He seemed to be moving in slow motion. I took solace in the fact that the solitary portion of my ordeal had come to a close. I reverted my attention to the injury as if I wanted to make sure it was presentable. My internal dialogue continued. You have a choice right now. You can choose to wallow in victimhood, blame, pity, and the accompanying depression that will certainly follow, or you can manifest your own reality around this. Think of the words of your hero, Viktor Frankl. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's way. The sooner you choose to accept what happened and acknowledge the responsibility of the reaction lies with you, the better off you'll be. Do it right now. I have been far from perfect. So that's the piece I wrote right after, really in the days after the injury. And this project of revisiting it for this event has turned my attention back to it. And I'll say, in the depths of February here and a year and a half or so after it's happened, that it's been good for me to revisit it, because I really want to find this dude again, the guy that had this attitude. Holy shit. Where is that guy? I want to know. But anyway, thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you to Fishtrap. Thanks.
Hey, if you folks are like looking at each other or thinking to yourself, wow, I'm glad I went out tonight. I could have stayed home and watched whatever's on HBO or reruns of Frankie Drake Mysteries or something on CBS. I'm glad I came out here to Fishtrap Fireside. This is fun. I encourage you to look as on your way out to maybe throw a little something in that beautiful carved fish. That really does help us to show your appreciation, and really does help us to keep programs like this going here in Loudoun County for you folks. Second thing I want to say is, some of you, this is your first visit to Fishtrap's new event space, and for those who have been coming since the beginning, every month something new is happening. We're listening to what you have to say about your experience, accessibility, can you hear, getting in physically, all of these different things. We're learning too. I wanted to say one quick thing. When they started renovating this building, they're upstairs and taking paneling off the walls and found some old paintings. It was a Masonic hall, and there were these paintings of these Masonic things, you know, knights and Jacob's ladder and stuff, and it was really cool. But you know, they were painted 100 years ago, and we don't know who painted them. But there are, at the break, you can take a look. There's some photos on that top shelf of what some of those paintings look like. And then I started thinking about this too. Our event space here, these acoustic panels are helping us, but Janice Carper was saying, you know, we need the acoustic treatments, but it also has to be something that looks nice. So every event, there's going to be a background here, and every photograph, and every person watching on Facebook or YouTube. By the way, thanks and welcome, folks. It has to be something cool. And so Shannon said, well, why don't you design something? And Janice came up with this beautiful, I don't want somebody 100 years from now to walk into this building and say, I wonder who designed that, it's beautiful. So I thought I would take tonight and say, Janice, would you come up and sign it? It's a brand new Sharpie I just bought.
Hey, Brad. Is she going to sign each panel?
Just sign it and put the year on it so people know.
Where is it? It's already, I have to put 23.
2020.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
And now you'll know too who designed it and be able to tell that story. Okay, our third reader is one of our great pals. Evelyn Swart was a newcomer to Wallowa County 21 years ago. A retiree from many years of education and administration, she readily became ensconced in volunteering and participating in the variety of activities available in the county, including Fishtrap. Also, all our other programs like Big Read and Fireside. She found herself being transformed from a writer of professional documents to writing humor and children's stories. We've been lucky enough to hear several of them. However, now she is risking self-revelation by sharing her attempts in another genre. She might be the Grandma Moses of poetry. Or not. Evelyn Swart, come on. Give her a hand.
I read one of these pieces to my son. He's in Thailand, so I had to do it over the phone. And he said, is that about you? Did you write that about you or someone else? And I said, it's universal. But you can judge. She used to be somebody who was greeted with expectant eyes. Somebody who was talked about, never criticized to her face, but so much a topic of conversation when gone. She used to be somebody who brought creative ideas, who have managed and accomplished difficult tasks, traveled afar, and returned with new how-tos and asked them, shall we try? She used to be somebody. Now she's unseen and unknown. A nobody, too old to engage in conversation. Never, too old to be asked, what do you think? Never to be known for what she once did. Somebody grew older, and nobody endured. Now, this is another one of those. Mother's lament. You were a gift to the world, a gift to me, a little one to love and nurture, my source of joy. Not only my joy, but my consternation. Your antics, my worries. Your wayward soul, plaguing and challenging my role as your protector and guardian. Your delightful humor and verbal abilities, your coordination in all things athletic, your presence and caring when I needed you. I remember these qualities as I weep for you now. Your choices, a curse, an albatross for me. Your family's pain, your loved one's defeat, your turmoil, your suffering, your choices, my cross. This one may be a little better. Desert children. Gray sand everywhere. Sagebrush, the color of concrete. Walls and floors, the color of sand. A galvanized tub and a black stove offer no contrast in the gray desert world. Water carried in from the outside pump, heated on the black iron stove fueled with sagebrush branches, then dumped into the galvanized tub. A Saturday night ritual, taking turns, 3 baths, then start over again. Same clothing worn the day before. Colors faded by yesterday's exploits. Sand and sagebrush pollen brought in from the desert playground. Shaking the sheets made the sand bounce in the air and come back down. She asked us every morning, did you shake the sheets? Of course we did, because we knew she would ask, but we didn't understand. When we grew older, we asked, why did you want us to shake the sheets? And she told us, that's what my mother told me to do. Okay. We did this a long time ago at Fishtrap Fireside, but I want to do it again. Grandma's rap. It's a slow rap. But you can help me with it. Got out of the shower and I started to dress. took a brush to my hair. It's hopeless, I guess. I reached for a pad for the callus on my foot. Gotta put it in place and make it stay put. Put on my support hose to avoid leg pain. Check my arthritis. It'll probably rain. Tugged and pulled my compression sleeve to give my sore arm a pain reprieve. And now I'm ready to put on my clothes to be in public or at large, I suppose. I'm now up and ready for what the day brings, like visits to doctors and medical things. I thought it'd be funny to retire and rest with nothing to do but what I like best. Unaware of the trouble to be so blessed to rise in the morning and get myself dressed.
Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Robin. Let's give one more round of applause. And to you folks for coming out, and to you folks for watching at home in your slippers. We're going to take a little break, and then you can visit with the readers and each other, and then we'll come back for our open mic. It looks like we've got four folks. They're short little readings of up to 5 minutes. You get to hear some interesting things. And then in just a second, we're going to go here. But next month for Fishtrap Fireside is March, and March is also Women's History Month. And historically, every year we try to have 3 people who identify as women from different generations, who read in different genres, and so you should really stick around for that. But one last thing before we go, I want to invite Jennifer Hodge to come up and say just a couple things.
So I'm Jennifer Hobbs, and I took this job after being in love with Fishtrap for 20 plus years. I now get to look at the inside of it, and one thing I didn't realize all these years when I've been enjoying Firesides is what it takes to put it on, and I know now. And I appreciate the people who have sponsored. There are sponsors sitting all around here, and I'm just going to ask, if you haven't already had a chance to put something in the fish or donate or sponsor, and you're in a position to do so, please do. This is magic. This is like nothing else, and it's only here because we're here, and please keep the magic going. And again, it's budgeted for $10,000 to put this on, and our sponsors definitely help us out with food. But if you can keep this going, please do. We want it to stay free so that everybody who wants to come can be here. And I wanted to say it's such a gift to get to be part of this team. I'm still pretty new to this part of Fishtrap. It's such a gift to get to know you. I'm starting to recognize more faces and have more conversations. It is my favorite thing that's happened in my life this year. So thank you. And please come and enjoy.